Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 27th edition of the Midwest Donut Review Show. I'm Dave Leggett in St. Louis, Missouri. That's my son, Eric Leggett, in Sacramento, California. Eric, we normally do Fridays. Today is a Saturday. How's your Saturday?
Weird, because I woke up early to get donuts instead of yesterday. So my time is all wonky right now. My internal clock is very confused as to what's going on.
Will you be able to overcome and eat donuts?
I'll try my best. I'll put my best foot forward here, but, I guess time will tell.
You're either a gamer or a lamer. So...
I don't think a lamer is a thing that exists.
Yeah, man. You either have game or you have lame. How about that? Is that better?
I think that's worse, actually.
Better. That's worse. So, for first-time viewers, welcome. Here's what we do. Eric and I both attempt to buy the same 3 donuts, him covering the West Coast, me here in the Midwest. We size them, we price them, tell you about the donut shop a little bit, and we have some pictures that we'll post later so you can see what they look like. And quite honestly, the most important thing is how they taste. And we always do a glazed donut. If you can't do a glazed donut right, man... Get out the biz.
You're batting from behind in the count. That's for sure.
That's right. So we start off all of our shows with donut news of the week. Eric, what have you found out in the great wide world about the lovely world of donuts?
Well, I'm glad you brought up world, because this article from Independent brings us to India. And this is titled, Indian Court to Rule on Whether a Donut Shop is a Bakery or a Restaurant. This ruling could have significant implications for India's restaurant and bakery industries. So a court in India is hearing a case that decides whether donuts should attract 5 or 18% tax in a case that could have significant implications for India's restaurant and bakery industries. At the core of the dispute is whether donuts should be taxed as part of restaurant services, which carry a 5% charge under India's goods and services tax, or as a standalone bakery products, which fall under the 18% GST bracket.
Well, if I know anything at all about government, they're shooting for the 18%.
Yes. So that is basically, that's what happened. This comes after the Indian arm of donut chain Mad Over Donuts challenged a notice from India's Directorate General of Goods and Services Tax Intelligence that held them guilty of tax evasion for incorrectly classifying their business as restaurant service and order them to pay more in taxes. So this donut chain...
Tax evasion?
This donut chain filed under, we're a restaurant, we have 5% tax. And now they're saying, no, you're guilty of tax evasion. You're a bakery. You have to do 18%. A similar notice was also served to chains Dunkin' Donuts, Theo Brahma, and Krispy Kreme.
So, wow. So, what would you say a donut shop has to sell in order to not be a bakery but to be a restaurant? Hot food?
So,
like eggs or
the
any
head
idea?
chef of Mad Over Donuts, who allegedly said that the donuts are prepared in a central kitchen and then sent to individual outlets. At these outlets, garnishing, chocolate pouring, and packing are done before an item is sold. Thus, the products are sold over the counter.
I think that's interesting that he called himself a chef and not a baker.
It's the little things. It's the little things,
man. Wow.
Mad Over Donuts maintained that it meets the criteria for it to be classified as a restaurant, since all its outlets have a kitchen to heat the items sold and donuts go through a final preparation before sale. So they're taken from one place, gone to another place, adjusted there, sold. And so now they're saying that that place where they're taken and finished off and then sold makes it a restaurant.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find out here in Missouri if there are different tax levels if you say you are a restaurant or if you say you are a bakery.
It says here To continue, the Indian law enforcement agency argued that the kitchens at these outlets are, quote, stretching the definition of service beyond the guidelines under the GST Act, and any garnishing of the donuts before they are served is, quote, nothing but to make the said products attractive for the customers before selling them over the counter, similar to the types of sweets prepared by confectioners with various coatings and spreading different dry fruits over it. So they're saying you're not doing enough here at this outlet for it to be considered a restaurant. You're doing something, but it's not enough to change the product.
Well, wow. Gotta love when the bureaucrats jump on, we could be making more tax money. We're about to go broke.
Yes. The court ruled that no course of action can be taken against Mad Over Donuts while the case is pending, and listed it for hearing on March 24th, 2 days from now.
Okay, so we are your news source. Because if I know anything about what's currently going on in our government, they are looking for ways to extract more from an existing situation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, somebody will jump all over this. Oh, good
So where do
Lord.
you stand on this? Do you think a donut shop is a bakery or a restaurant?
I think if you sell breakfast sandwiches, you are a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because you're cooking eggs and sausage and melting cheese and...
Yep. You're making something.
Yes.
That's a restaurant.
You're and nobody would confuse making eggs or sausages or melting cheese as a bakery.
Yeah.
Bakery is bread, donuts, sweets.
And, like, there are plenty of diners that make, like, pies, that make muffins.
Right.
Those aren't bakeries.
Absolutely not. So, So, all right, we'll keep an eye and we'll find out. I will find out in Missouri, at least, what they're doing. So, all right. Do you have any more donut news of the week, E?
Nope. That's all I got.
Okay. So, this week, we are checking out the best donuts in Colorado. So, as recently as 2022 on Yelp, the number one rated Colorado donut place is a place called Sweet Colorado.
That's too easy. That's too easy. I don't like that.
Glenwood Springs, and they have opened 3 new. They're spreading like, I'm not going to say wildfire in Colorado. That's a terrible image. They have 3 new donut places. One in Rifle, one in Eagle, and as I say it out loud, I'm thinking, don't say Rifle and Eagle in the same sentence either, because that's illegal. And Grand Junction. So 4 spots. They do coffee, tea, and they serve breakfast cocktails. So they've got 5 on the menu, mimosa being one of them, a white Russian, and so a really good pick-me-up. Their donut holes are made with croissant dough. They call them crohonis. I love it. Have some fun. 11-layer cronuts. They have something called an 8-hour fritter. Have you made fritter? You made fritters.
Yeah, they took longer, not 8 hours.
Well, they take a while. Maybe it's the altitude. It takes longer for the dough to rise. They do gluten-free. They do breakfast sandwiches, cake, glazed, old-fashioned twist bars, cinnamon rolls. Congratulations, man, Sweet Colorado, spreading the good news, starting from my mom and pop. In a city called Lone Tree, Colorado, is Mr. Donuts. As recently as 2019, they were the number 1 donut place in Colorado. Again, mom and pop shop. Cronuts, fritters, maple bacon, kolaches. So they're not a bakery.
No.
They're making real food. They will also make letter donuts for your special occasion. Happy birthday, congratulations, that sort of thing.
So, like, the dough is in the shape of a letter?
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's kind of cute. They also do the fillings while you wait. Bavarian cream, raspberry, lemon, sweet cream cheese, and cherry. I love that there's options. A mom and pop that does options for filling donuts. Great idea. Mr. Donuts in Lone Tree, mom and pop shop. And our third joint to check out if you're in Colorado, Donut House, Haus. They opened 30 years ago in an old gas station. But they were so popular, they needed a brick and mortar joint. You can find them in Estes Park and in Loveland, Colorado. They sell 4,000 donuts a day.
Jesus.
They are the official donut of the Denver Broncos. And when you go to the football stadium, it used to be Mile High Stadium, but I'm sure it's affiliated with a company now.
Sure, some.
And I'm not familiar what it is. But when you buy your Donut House donuts, they all come served in individual boxes like a White Castle burger. But it's a donut in a box. They do apple and raspberry fritters.
Ooh.
Cinnamon rolls with pecans. That's definitely a step up. They do sticky buns, which is not a... oh, you know what? My cat has stolen a bag of treats out of... and he's starting to... So I'm going to take a 10-second pause here to beat my cat's butt and get those snacks away. Hold on one sec. You nasty boy. Ugh.
Just those cats take a single second of distraction. They will use it to their advantage 10 times out of 10. Incredible.
That little pumpkin head. Hobbs is a snack monster, and we've already discussed no donuts for you, Pally.
I thought you were about to say... I heard them rustle around back there. I thought you were about to say he took a donut.
Oh, man. Oh, that would have been the end of him.
That would have been bad.
That's like an 8-ounce bag of treats. He pulled it off the second shelf and drug it out of the kitchen out into the living room. So he was bound and determined to get a snack this morning. Wow. Sorry about that, everybody. But, man, we couldn't have that happen during the show. So the Donut House in Estes Park and Loveland, just to finish. Their cake donut flavors, blueberry, red velvet, devil's food, and apple. They do an apple cake donut. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does.
And they have chocolate buttermilk pull-aparts. So I'm thinking
know what that is.
Kind of like a fritter.
But
because a fritter is kind of a pull-apart. Yeah, but chocolate buttermilk. So I love it. They do cherry iced cake donuts.
Ooh.
A flavor I've not had. Vanilla chocolate and maple. So Donut House in Estes Park and in Loveland, Colorado. If anybody heads out there and stops in there, please give us a call and let us know. Yeah, they're worthy of their reputation. Mm-hmm. So, Eric, as we kick off all of our shows, our first donut is always a glazed donut. So, where did you go today? How much did it cost? How big is it? How's it taste?
So today, I went to Rancho Cordova Donuts. This is 2808 Zinfandel Drive in Rancho Cordova, California. This is formerly Donut King. I was a little confused because on Google Maps it was Donut King. I showed up. This does not look. Donut King was not on the outside. So it is also Rancho Cordova Donuts. So someone at Google Maps needs to rectify that. Because right now it has two different donut shops in the exact same location. And that's not true. It's Rancho Cordova Donuts. This place was popping this morning. Maybe it's because it's a Saturday and I'm not used to it, but in terms of popularity for donut shops that I've been to for this show, this was like on the upper end. The glazed donut I got, it was 4 1/4 inches across, 1 1/4 tall, and this one was $1.85. This is definitely on the more expensive side of donuts I've gotten before. And I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed with this one. And it's partly because the look of this donut got my expectations up high, because it looked and felt like in my hand like a glazed donut that I really love, that just falls apart and melts directly in your mouth. You could, as you know, picking it up, it's super light, super fluffy, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the exact texture that I love for a glazed donut. But it was all looks. As soon as you bit into it, maybe like the top ends of it were super light and fluffy, but then it got to just like a kind of regular standard dough texture for a glazed donut. And the glaze did a thing that I really don't love, is when it flakes off. I don't really know how that happens, truth be told. I know it didn't happen at Donut Palace when I worked there. And it's so I don't know what has to go wrong for that to happen. But glaze flaking off as you're eating it, I think is really, really bad. I want the whole part of a glazed donut is the glaze, and if you're losing it after each bite, you're getting a worse and worse eating experience. I thought the size of this was good. I liked how big it was. But I was just let down, because the appearance and the feel of it seemed like it was going to be a glazed donut that I really enjoy, and it was just kind of a standard glazed donut. And it being a standard glazed donut and being $1.85, I feel like is not a great combo. I feel like if you're gonna give me a standard glazed donut, you got to give me a standard glazed donut price, and this is a price for a better glazed donut. So I think I want to give this like a 3-1.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
It's not horrible. I think the size.
A 3-1 to me says it's an okay glazed donut.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. If you want a glazed donut, this will satiate you. But we use that analogy. If you brought in a dozen of these, I feel like your coworkers would be like, maybe got something else, or you have anything other than just glazed donuts, or yeah. I'd say this is not strong enough to stand on its own.
Okay. All right. Well, not a great start, but we're not done.
No.
So today's shop for me is the St. Louis Hills Donut Shop. They are at 6917 Hampton Avenue near Wilmore Park in South St. Louis City. It is a tiny shop. Once you get more than 4 people in there, you can't get in the door. It is jammed up to the front. It's a tiny building. And very rarely do we do a Saturday show. Mm-hmm. They are only open Saturdays and Sundays.
Wow.
From 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. So, if you want a St. Louis Hills donut, you got 10 hours a week on a Saturday or Sunday. Go get them. Mom and pop shop still putting them out, though. So, my glazed donut, every donut in the shop is $1.30.
Every single donut?
Except the apple fritter and the cinnamon roll. Every other filled donut, huge donut, twist, everything, $1.30. Wow. So, great prices. It's 4 inches tall. 4 inches around. It's 4 inches tall. It is 1.5 inches tall, which is a pretty big glazed donut. Mm-hmm. And so, when I see a really tall glazed donut, I'm thinking it's going to be chewy. It's going to be so dense. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be like chewing and chewing and chewing. So we'll start with the glaze. It is a great glaze. You had talked about yours flaking off. Mine is still slightly liquidy.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. They do it's not too sweet. It's not chalky. It's not grainy. It is a fabulous glaze on this donut. You bite it, it melts in your mouth. There are air pockets in this donut. It's not trying to get through a thick dough. The dough by itself, very flavorful with no glaze. Really big donut. I was afraid it would be chewy. It is not. For $1.30, this glazed donut from St. Louis Hills Donut Shop is a 4.3.
Whew.
Really good glazed donut. Great price.
Yeah, $1.30. That's crazy.
Oh, you take the lid off and see these Mamba Jumbo glazed donuts, and then they taste great. Yeah, that's a fabulous way to do a glazed donut. Well done, St. Louis Hills Donut Shop.
Only open 2 days a week, man. That's so. I mean, was it like super busy while you were there?
Oh yeah. When I got there, I couldn't go in, and I had to. I was probably fourth in line, and then while I was in, only one other person could come in, and then when I left with my dozen donuts, there were 4 or 5 people waiting to go in.
Wow.
So yeah, steady business, small place, but if you make great donuts, people will find you.
Yep,
so
people will show up.
Glazed donut, fabulous.
Okay, so our second donut we got today is a chocolate iced old fashioned donut.
Let me ask you a question. I know we haven't reviewed these before. Have you ever had
I think we have once
a
before.
chocolate old fashioned?
Yeah, I think we have once
I've
before.
never had one.
Okay, well, I know that's false because I'm almost 100% sure that we've had one on the show before.
Well, when I saw it, I thought it was the most unusual thing I'd seen in a while.
Well,
to take it old fashioned and make it a chocolate dough. So, I'll go back through the shows, but I don't believe I've ever had one.
You had a chocolate dough old fashioned?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Mine just has chocolate icing.
Oh. Okay. No, man, mine is a chocolate cake old fashioned glazed. I'm sorry I didn't make that clearer for you. Would you prefer me to go grab an old fashioned instead?
No, I mean, we've made it this far.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, my chocolate iced old fashioned.
Yes, that's what I missed.
Was 4 inches across and an inch tall. This one was also $1.85.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
$1.85 is the standard for all the donuts there, pretty much. Your regular run of the mill donuts are all going to be $1.85. I will also mention a half dozen, which is what I got. They put at $10.95, and I did the math, and you're really only saving like 3 cents a donut. So, like,
what's the point?
Why, like, market, like, oh, if you get a half dozen, it's only $10.95. No. You're just doing the math for me, but, like, kind of badly. That's really what you're doing. So that was super weird. And this chocolate old fashioned, I'd say, was okay. I think the star of this is definitely the chocolate icing. It was exactly what it was. Good chocolate fudgy icing, which I really like. I liked how thick it was. I think it worked really well with the old fashioned dough. I will say it was a little overpowering. I didn't get much old fashioned cake flavor, whether it be vanilla or sour cream or whatever it was. I didn't really get a whole lot of that. It was mostly chocolate, which was good because the chocolate was a really good flavor, but I didn't really get a mix of anything. And this old fashioned, for me, was just too crispy. I like a softer old fashioned. I like the crown, but I don't like to crunch on a donut. And for me, this old fashioned, every bite, there was a little bit of crunchiness, and I really don't like that. So I think, for me personally, and the fryer too long. But I think the star of this is your chocolate icing, and the chocolate icing was really good. So I think I want to give this like a 3.4. There's just parts of this donut that I am not a fan of, so I can't really rate it that high. But I think if you're looking for something with chocolate icing and something that's a little more dense, I think this is the way to go. But again, a $1.85 price point for, again, what is a pretty standard donut. I that's a negative.
Yeah.
$1.85 is just too much.
Okay. So my chocolate dough old fashioned. Sorry about the miscommunication there. It is 4 inches around. It's 1 inch tall. It looks exactly like an old fashioned should. We always kind of differ a little bit because I love the crunchy compared to the soft dough. I love that juxtaposition. And this is a very crunchy. There's lots of crevices. They use that great glaze again to get in all the crevices. I think a little bit of the downfall of this donut for me is that the chocolate dough gets overwhelmed with the glaze. Like, it's really hard to get just a bite of the chocolate dough. Honestly, if I were to close my eyes and I took a bite of the regular old-fashioned and the chocolate old-fashioned, I couldn't tell you which one was chocolate.
Ooh.
Yeah. That chocolate has to come through. If you're going to try that, I mean, it's unequivocally chocolate cake dough. But because it's so small, because it's only an inch tall, that great glaze, even though it's a fabulous flavor, it just overwhelms the chocolate dough. You don't get the chocolate dough difference. So for what this is, it's a 3.3. Now, it's $1.30. That's a great price, and it's a pretty good old-fashioned donut. But if you're thinking, I'm getting something markedly different with a chocolate dough as compared to a buttermilk or a sourdough or sour cream old-fashioned, it's not different at all. There's hardly any difference I would be able to tell. So 3.3 is my review. Not a bad donut, but it's overwhelmed. Too much of a good thing is a thing.
Yeah.
And the great glaze overwhelms the chocolate dough. So 3.3 on the St. Louis Hills Donut Shop for the chocolate dough old-fashioned.
Yeah. And that really sucks is chocolate old-fashions really aren't a thing. And so, you would think going in there, you're like, oh, a chocolate old-fashioned, gotta try this. And so then you're really just kind of let down that it's really not anything special.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I guess why other shops don't do it. I guess that's the reason we don't see it a whole lot.
Yeah.
So our third donut today is a buttermilk bar. My buttermilk bar is 4.5 inches across, 1.5 inches tall. Kind of crazy that it's only, what is it, 1/4 inch bigger than my glazed donut was. Usually buttermilk bars are, I don't know, I'd say pretty sizable than standard donuts. So either the glazed donut at Rancho Cordova Donuts is very big, or their buttermilk bar is very small. So it's one of those two.
Yeah.
This got into the old-fashioned crispiness for me, which again, I just don't love. And what was not great is the way the buttermilk bar kind of is, how it has that kind of like channel in the middle. When they glazed this, I think they put too much glaze on it because a lot of it seeped through. And so the middle of this donut is soggy with glaze.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, not like the middle, but like, I'll kind of show
Where
it here.
it shouldn't be. Oh,
Where here.
No.
It's soggy with glaze.
No.
And that's just too much glaze. You should not be pouring that much on there to where it seeps inside the donut. Glaze should be on the outside. I will say the buttermilk flavor on this was really nice. I did like the buttermilk flavor. But I'm about to tell you why this is going to get a low score. This donut was $2.15. On no planet should this be $2 or anything more. There's no reason for that. I'm sorry. It's not as big as a $2 donut should be. It's not as good as a $2 donut should be. The glaze stayed on this, which is nice. It didn't flake off like on the glaze yeast donut. But yeah, $2.15 is just too expensive for this donut. So I think I want to give this like a 2.8.
Wow.
Really,
We haven't been in the twos for a while.
The price of this just makes this donut something you should not get. This is not a donut that you should get at Rancho Cordova Donuts. I'm sorry. If maybe this was on par with the other donuts in terms of pricing, I think it's fine. But paying over $2 for this, you're just not getting anywhere close to the value that this donut actually has. So yeah, 2.8.
I mean, price makes a difference, the flavor, of course, but if you have a middling donut and you've overcharged, it's just not that valuable.
Yeah, it makes a middling donut a worse donut. And that's what happened here. This donut it's standard. It's fine. There are things about it, like the crispiness, I don't love, but I know you like it. So, that's not an inherently bad thing. But putting this, again, standard average donut at $2.15, it's just too much.
When you consider that my buttermilk bar is 5 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, 2 inches tall.
Wow.
It's a beastie. I'll show you the second half. That's half for $1.30. So immediately we're like, hey, guns are ready.
Yeah.
That glaze that they have perfected at St. Louis Hills Donut is on this as well. It's fabulous. The dough by itself is flavorful. There's a vanilla lightness. It's like a birthday cake sort of vibe going on. It's not big and thick and dense. It's not chewy. It is fried. I wrote very well, but now I'm thinking, I don't know how you can fry that donut any better. It might be fried perfectly. You had talked about the glaze going into the dough.
Yeah.
This is perfect. The crispy edge and all the crackles allow that glaze to soak into the outside because the dough by itself stands up. If you're just biting the dough, it's a good cake. It's moist, it's flavorful, it melts in your mouth. It's not a chewy cake. I love the crispy outside. It's big. It's inexpensive. This is my favorite donut of the day. This is a 4.4 buttermilk bar from St. Louis Hills Donut Shop. Wowza. So I think kind of the theme of today's donuts for me is that great glaze stands up to a bigger donut, whereas the smaller donut needs a little deft touch. And, wow, just a great buttermilk bar today from St. Louis Hills Donut Shop.
That price point for that size of donut is incredible. The fact that, like, if you are just, like, by yourself, not buying donuts or anyone, you just want, like, donuts for breakfast on a Saturday morning, that you could go in, get, like, that buttermilk bar and something else, you would be completely full because of the size and the density and how they are. And you're spending less than $4.
And they taste great.
Yeah.
You're not putting up with an average donut because it's got a great price. It's got a great price and it's a great donut. That's the combo we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Great price, great donut. Go to the shop.
Yes.
So, go to St. Louis Hills Donut Shop.
Yeah.
Try some of the other stuff also. But if you get the buttermilk bars and the glazed donuts, you'll have
be happy.
Lots of friends. Lots of friends. All right. So as we wrap up our show every time, we have trivia time.
Thank you for doing that. I don't have to add that in for special editing. Thanks. Appreciate that.
3 trivia questions today.
Okay.
All over the place.
Perfect. That's where I thrive.
What donut shop, founded in Portland in 2003 and has since expanded to 4 states and 19 shops, including Universal Studios? They sell a donut coffin.
Oh, I know what this is.
It's filled with 3 dozen donuts, and it costs $130.
I know what shop
And it's
this
a
is.
cool, creepy-looking coffin. Who makes it?
It's Voodoo Donuts.
It is Voodoo Donuts. So I don't know if I could spend $130 for the vibe.
Yeah.
Even 3 dozen donuts. And Voodoo, finishes with great scores every year.
Oh, yeah.
People love those Voodoo Donuts, and they are specialty donuts.
Yeah, they do very special like decoration and stuff like that.
So I think it would have to be like a special occasion, like if you're having a Halloween party or something like that. Because I don't think you want to take a coffin
or
with
maybe
3 dozen donuts to work.
No. maybe a wake.
Oof. I don't.
On theme.
Woo! That's dark.
The coffin in there has something we don't like. The coffin here has something we do.
Wow, that is. I shall go no further down that path with you. In 2019's Sonic the Hedgehog,
I saw this movie.
he has a human sidekick who is a police officer named Tom. What is Tom's nickname?
Oh, fuck. I don't remember that part. I'm going to assume it has something to do with donuts, considering this is a donut trivia bit, and donuts wasn't part of the question at all. So, donut, man, Mr. Donut.
He is known as the Donut Lord. Tom is the Donut Lord, voiced by James Marsden.
It is James Marsden.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just like a human man. It's just James
Okay.
Marsden.
Clearly I've not seen the movie.
You should. It's pretty good.
In 2019, Knives Out,
Yeah.
which character gives an impassioned speech comparing evidence to a donut hole?
What is Daniel Craig's character? Fucking Benoit Blanc.
Yes, you did it.
I don't remember how it ties together as a donut hole, but I remember him talking about a donut hole.
It's very interesting, and it absolutely dovetails in what we're doing. You have a donut hole in the middle of your donut hole. It's very confusing, but he figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent flick. Okay, so that brings us to the end of show number 27. How can people join our little band of merriment here?
I say the best way to do it is, if you're watching on YouTube right now, is to subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comment on the videos. Gets us in the good graces of the very confusing YouTube algorithm. Gets us more eyes and more people to interact. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, subscribing to the show, and rating and reviewing the show does all that good stuff, but over on Apple Podcasts. And our Instagram account is linked in the description. And there we post photos of all the donuts before we've eaten them, obviously. That was a weird... and after.
No,
we don't. That's gross. Just before in their glory, and you'll see, like today, how I really thought this glazed donut was going to be awesome. So you can get in my mindset for this donut eating experience.
See, we are here to educate the people. We're not just fun and games here. We're educational.
Yes. Because we're so
Where
smart.
else can you have this much fun for 40 minutes with your clothes on?
I didn't like that last bit. You didn't have to add that. Also, they could be like watching or listening to this in their comfort of their own home. They could have their clothes off. You don't know. I'd prefer if they didn't. I'd prefer if they were clothed. But
I don't like that image.
It's your life, man. You do whatever you need to.
Okay.
But yeah, just commenting, rating, reviewing. We see it all, and that's the best way to get in touch with us.
So we would love some ideas of some shops to go to, a donut you've had that is spectacular that we need to share with the world. And thanks for joining us.
Maybe a donut shop you went to when you were a kid. You were like, I wonder how it holds up today.
Right? If they are still in business, is it still the same owners? New owners with the same recipes? Are they adding something to it? Mm-hmm. We would like to explore and report back here for you. So let us know where to go. That ends show number 27, the Midwest Donut Review Show. Dave Leggett in St. Louis, Eric Leggett in Sacramento. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will see you again very soon. Thanks.